What is the 2024 draft going to look like for the Kansas City Chiefs? We're figuring that out right now, tonight. Welcome to RGR Football. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL as a total. Really excited. Tonight is our final Sunday night live before draft night. We're going to be live for you all of the first round, all of the second day, the vast majority of the third day as well. Especially depending on what the Chiefs do. We're going to be covering the Chiefs, but the draft as a whole. If you want a non-network, a non-talking head, if you want the real deal, we're going to give it to you. Dan and I will be on all weekend long. We'll have some guests, hopefully being able to arrive depending on their time frame and what selections are being made to give us the context. It's going to be based around the draft guide. You're going to get plenty of information in that draft guide, and it's going to let you be ready. And that's honestly our main goal, is to let you be ready. So you know all the prospects, you know what's coming, and you know how it's going to go down when a player arrives at your team in Kansas City or anywhere else. You can get it over at rogueapc.com, and you can use the code RGR. You're going to get a nice discount there as well. And for those who haven't had a chance to see it yet, there's some updated graphics on the website. But I do want you to see, we run it all down. This has the athletic matrix built into it in terms of our final grades. It has my exclusive, the metrics that I care about the most, including the elusive rate and the yards after contact percentage, the things that really tell you where running back stands in this particular case. We're going to give you all the details, rank everybody out, and then we're going to give you profile after profile after profile so you can compare apples to oranges and understand who's in the draft class. We do this for every single position. Some of them have a deeper class than others, as you can see here. The wide receivers are going to be a hectic group. We're going to talk about them here coming up shortly as we go through everyone in this draft, over 250 prospects that we're going to have available for you to check out and get a good look at. There's a lot of guys in this that I'm really excited about, and it does make our lives a little bit easier is what I'm looking for in being able to give you the information, understand where a guy's coming from, and how we're going to use him. So that said, tonight, we're going to be drafting, and we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty. Going to take it kind of slow, to tell you the truth. We're going to switch gears here so that we can go through the process and adapt to what's in front of us in the first round in particular, just like the Chiefs are going to have to do. Those longer time frames on the picks in the first round are on purpose. They are by design, and they are something that the Chiefs covet and need to use in order to make their best draft selections. I'm going to try to keep this as great a view as we possibly can. We're going to go through, like I said, slower speed, standard, what I think is the most realistic options here on this particular machine, which I think in the end, though I've tried all of them again this year, kudos to PFF because they've had the best machine going in order to try to simulate these drafts. So right now, we're going to enter the draft, get going. We're currently in the Chiefs standard spot at 32, and we're going to let it get started, see what happens. Caleb first, Jalen, Drake, Marvin, Rome, J.J. McCarthy. That is certainly an option right there, and I'm going to stop us right here. We've seen some of the craziness that can go on. But right now, the top tackle is still on the board, and this is a rumored landing spot for Joe Alt. I just want to see what it's going to take for us to move up. And I think it's going to take 2 number ones plus a 3. We can give away the Chiefs 3, which will end up being better than the Titans. But this is what it would have to do to get up to 7. Give away the whole kit and caboodle for next year if you want to go get Joe Alt. In this particular scenario, you also see one Malik Neighbors is not off the board yet either. So it gives you a little bit of back and forth. Now, same value, trying to get to 8, we'd easily take that. They might even take a number 2. Actually, they won't. But it would be accepted, and we might be able to get something back from them, say 109. I doubt we'd get 79. But so just one stop back for the Falcons is telling. We know somebody in Chicago. We could even look at going 9 and trying to get back 122. They say they would take that. I don't think that they would myself. I wouldn't if I was Ryan Poles. And so that brings us to 11, which would be probably the next place that I think could likely be likely. And at that point, outside the top 10, I'm trying to get a little bit more value, and I'm not giving up a 1. I'd have to give up a 2 and see what else I could combine to get there. But right now, I'm not even going to do that. We're going to let this continue and see what happens. And it's Neighbors, and then Quinn and Mitchell, and then Joalt at 9, and then Fuaga, Turner, Fashanu. Two of the 3 Fs, that is, have gone off. Fuaga and Fashanu. Fautano is the last guy standing, a guy that is on my list. You guys are going to get my list, by the way. My draft board reveal is coming up. Tomorrow night's Q&A will also have some of my guys in it, and I'm going to give you an extra video that is specific to my guys. At every position, the guys that aren't just at the top of the list, but are going to be guys that I think can bring something unique, special, or surprising to an NFL roster. So we're going to have that for you this week. Dan's working on content as well. We're going to have it all the way in the run up to the draft as well as the live streams. So the Raiders are never going to trade with the Chiefs, but I just want to look to see what value could be had to get to 13. And I think this is one of the things that it would take a king's ransom to trade up to get there. And they would fleece you. And I think that that's built into this engine, and I like that. So taking that off the table, could we get to 14? Who's going to be a friendlier situation, I have to think. They don't want to give up 14 for a 3rd round pick, but if I gave them the 2, I'd still have to give them a 3. But you can get that done without giving up a 1st round pick to get to 14 right now for the New Orleans Saints. Could get to 15, a little bit easier, but not easy enough to just do the 3s. I'd even package the 3s if I needed to. But if we want to get a premier tackle talent, that's what we have to do. I don't think Brett Veach is willing to give up next year's number 1. So it would have to be a 2 and a 3, knowing that we have the pair of 3s. I'm not sure he's even willing to do that. So I'm going to let it roll another couple spots. Bowers, Latham, Arnold. We're still in luck. Okay, so maybe we can talk to the Seahawks and see what they want to do. This is exactly how it'll be for Brett Veach. This is going to be back and forth, watching who takes who, and then getting on the clock when it's an opportune moment to see what we can get done. This is exactly what they're going to have to do in Kansas City to try to get there. And that's the view that I was looking for. I'm not sure that it's going to come down that way. And you can see here that we're still not in the trade up for a 3rd round pick value yet. That's where we're trying to get to see if we can get something done. Again, I don't know that Jacksonville will. I know Cincinnati won't. Rams are a place that we've looked before. And it's starting to get closer. And I think for value's sake, that's where we have to try to aim right now. And we have to take our chances that Fashanu could come off in the next 3 picks. Not Fashanu, Fautano. And as much as I do want to have him, and he is one of my guys, we get down to 19 and he's still on the board. So I like the way that this is going. This is starting to feel a little bit like Trent McDuffie. And I'll blow this back up so you guys can see it. Trent McDuffie was a fall, a guy who came down the board more so than expected. And they were able to react and try to go get him. Now, the Rams at 19 have been a trade partner in the past. The 3rd rounder plus trading up could get it done. We'd probably have to throw in another pick or 2 in order to seal that deal. Easily 2 3s would do it, but even could we get a 4? Probably not. For this year, probably not. So we're very, very close, but we're not there on the clock yet. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be in the mood for another tackle. Now, the thing about Fautanu is he could go inside the guard as well. And they spent last year's pick on Broderick Jones. I do think that there's an up-and-coming guy there that they're trying to add to. So if we can't get this done and we're not comfortable giving up what we have to give up in a 3rd and a 4th and probably a pick this year too, that's quite a haul to get just up to 19. I don't think I'm ready to do that for these Kansas City Chiefs. So I think we got to roll the dice yet again and see what comes of it. Another 3, 4 teams. And boom, Mims, there goes Fautano. Right to the team that I thought might be interested in him. It's a shame. Mims comes off as well. And Mims is a much bigger gamble, in my opinion. So I'm a little surprised. We're going to let this roll now. Barton versus Johnny Newton, Brian Thomas, Nate Wiggins, Chop, then Adane. And now we're on with the Bills. I think the Lions are the pick that we might be able to wrangle for something acceptable. and I love that if we can do it for like next year's 7th rounder, if we need to jump in front of somebody. And that's really what it comes down to, because we have to know who we're going to get. Thomas, Mitchell, those two guys were options. I don't know that Chop Robinson belongs here. Looks like somebody's going to take him, but it ain't going to be me. We're going to see where we're going to go. Franklin, Guyton, Morgan, and Jackson Powers Johnson, which brings us to the Chiefs pick, knowing McKinstry could be an option. I think Brett Veach was pretty clear that corner is not off the table in the first round. You can see just how many of the wide receivers have gone. Jalen Polk obviously got bumped up by Peter Schrager, and that's nothing against Peter. But it was a bit artificial. Let's be real. And if we go back and we take a look at all of these wide receivers, I mean, there's 100 of them, right? At least it feels like it. You get to the point where you're getting down the top 4, 5, 6. You still have a couple of guys that you can look at. And so if you're willing to take, say, Worthy here, you're willing to take Keon Coleman here, who a lot of Chiefs fans really want, but you can see, I don't think that he's there. So for me, if it's a wide receiver, it's McConkey, or we trade back. If it's offensive tackle, you get that out of there. We're talking about Kingsley. And I think this is solid range. Kingsley, Suamataia should be available. And I think that's a guy, if I can get down to his profile in the draft guide, we'll get you there. You can see how Guyton's well-rounded. A more square-like figure here gives you balance versus your overall athleticism. Whereas you can see Suamataia, not quite as explosive as he is powerful, and not quite as short area quickness as he is powerful. Definitely more of a power player. You can tell from his athletic profile. And I can get myself off of there so you can see everything. He's 3rd in the power matrix, comes in at 15 in the explosion matrix. And that's kind of where he's making his money. Film rank, he came in 7th for us. Rank. Now, does that give you enough that you need to go up and do it? It's questionable. When we look at the board, it's questionable. You could still do this. And if you were just going to look at the tackles, Kieran, Kingsley, those are pretty much it. You get into some rights only after that. But I don't know that Kingsley's going to go here, and I think a lot of folks are comfortable with Kieran. Good work by Nick Jacobs to break him down. I've gotten some film. I'm not quite as high on him as Nick is, and that's okay. But let's see what the trade value being offered is. I don't want to move back to 47. That is not in my cards, buddy. I might move back to 35. Let's see if we can do that and pick something up. They are not interested in trading back. So, hey, that's the bottom line. 47 is too far to go, so we're making a pick here. This might be a similar situation to what we were in last season when Brett Veach couldn't get off the clock, couldn't find a trade partner, couldn't find someone to work with. Sometimes it's just hard that way. It does sometimes occur. I wish that it didn't, but the truth is the truth, and sometimes you just got to deal with it. So it comes down to, I think, those two picks, Ladd McConkey or our guy, Kingsley Suamataia. And unfortunately, the depth at wide receiver makes the pick of Suamataia the better one there. The only question becomes, is there anybody else that deserves the attention? Kool-Aid might be one of those guys. Especially when Brett Veach is saying, hey, don't rule out corner. We still need one. That's definitely going to be on the list. Could a Ricky Pearsall be on the list? I don't think so. Braden Fisk, I doubt it. I don't think there's enough there, and I think they're going to like the way that this falls. So I'm going to go with accomplishing what the Chiefs need to get done, and I'm going to grab Suamataia. As we've done around here a little bit, but we're going to check it out and see what happens. Sanistro, Kool-Aid goes right away. Disa Isaac, Newbin, I don't think he goes that high. Roman Wilson, Polk goes off at 42. McConkey a little bit behind him. Then Penix, Leggett, Coleman. So you saw size go there. And this is about the range where I think they might try to trade back in if they're feeling randy here. They can get back up to 48 if they use that third. If they use a fourth, probably not. You might have to give up something else this year in order to get that done, and probably not even then. So it's a third or bust, and maybe you can get something back on day 3. Pretty good stretch. I don't think that's happening in Jacksonville, but the Eagles might be open for business. And they will definitely give me 50. But can I get up there twice? No. The question is it worth a third rounder to go to 50? I don't know if it is. Will they take a fourth? No, they're not interested in a fourth. They're not interested in a fifth this year even. Wow, that's kind of surprising. I thought they might be. And so it's the Chiefs third. I will say that. If we want to get back up for, say, one Ricky Pearsall. I don't know that the Chiefs have him that high, but I think I love the fit in Kansas City. He will be one of my guys because I think he can be everything they've been pushing for in the slot. They can probably accomplish there. And I think this is worth probably the gamble to go up and do that. Rick Straw might have been a option there as well. And I do like Darius Robinson. I think you Tiger fans are going to be happy with my guys list. And we're going to see what we can do if we can get to the Eagles and maybe get 120 back. We'll see. Kamari Lassiter goes. I'm kind of surprised with that. We're going to go back to the Eagles because, they just didn't want to answer the phone, evidently. Sometimes you got to call a couple of times to get it done, and that's what happens here. And so the last pick before us is Braden Fisk and puts us on the clock and brings us back to the option of who could be there. And Ricky Pearsall is the guy that I was thinking. He is still available. I do like that. Xavier Worthy would be an option here as well. Now, I do think the Chiefs might prefer Worthy, especially as a second-round pick, not having to spend the first on him. I'm not sure that I do, and I want to look at corner and edge as well because they are definitely positions that the Chiefs will want to bolster. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a terrible thing. Here's another one of my guys that we're going to talk about next week and is on this group. Something to keep your eyes out for. I don't think they'll be moving up to draft him, so I'm going to take that out. And we're going to do one final check at the corner position. And Andrew Phillips, inside guy, if they really, really wanted to move Trent back outside, they could do that. I think Phillips is a nickel only, though. So I'm just not sure if they're ready to pull the trigger, or in this case, if they wanted to leave Trent in the nickel and they're not happy with their depth, which they may actually be, Kyrie Jackson's one of my guys as well. And I do like Renardo Green. Those are, man, I'm previewing the whole thing here, folks. From 50, we do have a couple trade offers. I got to look at them just to look at them. Because if it's not Ricky Pearsall, it could be Worthy. So we have two options. So moving back 2 spots, would that actually work? Possibly. And maybe we can recoup some value. So we move back to, and they're going to give us 83, moving us up. I'm going to do that. And we're going to see who they select. Sanders, and then Bullard goes. I like it. Our gamble paid off. We were able to move 95 up to 83, and we were able to get 120 back as well. And now we're on the board, and it comes down to those 2 wide receivers yet again. I do think they will probably lean Worthy in the 50s over Pearsall, but I really like Pearsall's fit, and I'm going to take him because we haven't put him on this roster in the past. And at this point, I'm going to let it roll because I'm not looking to trade up anymore. I'm not really looking to add a whole different dimension to it. but I do want to make sure that we're accomplishing some of the goals. If you want to know all these guys and you want to see the matrix, you can get it at rogueapc.com. I appreciate that you're thinking about it, and I hope that you will use the code RGR if you do. I want to make sure. A lot of folks, great sales this year, more folks than ever, but not many people using the code. And the code's here to save you a little bit of money. So that's what I want to make sure that I'm communicating. The code's RGR at rogueapc.com, and you can get all the information that we use on a daily basis to look at the draft. Now we're back on the board here at 83. And this is the running back run here, right? I do think that is a distinct possibility. I do have a guy on the board that I like. I have 2. I have 3. I have 4. There's 2 corners, an edge. I do like Booker. And Marshawn Lloyd, who is one of my favorite running backs in this class. We're going to double check here and just take a look at what else is going on. Braylon Trice, power edge, still on the board. Dominic Pooney, still on the board. We have 120 coming up next. So the question is, do we take advantage of being up as high as we are, and do we look running back, which is there's a slew of right now, or do we look at guys that could potentially fit in Kansas City as another corner, specifically because Brett Veach mentioned it the other day? I don't like to be too reactionary, but I do think that Brett Veach generally is going to give you a couple of indications of the truth of the reality. So I'm going to go in there, and I like Kyrie Jackson. He fits their mold, the length, the size. I think it could be a good match. I could go Renardo Green. They're very, very close on my board. In fact, I think they're next to each other. Board to be finalized here coming in the next few days, so look out for that show as well. And the board will be downloadable for free from NFL 33. You can subscribe if you like to get all the inside info, but definitely make sure you get over there on the free side to get that board once it's ready. Dan's working on his as well. I'm going to take Kyrie Jackson here, and I'm going to restock the size. And I think at 83, that's good value and is something that I think the Chiefs could actually decide to go for. Nothing against Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson. They could be looking to just man some more because of injuries, because of question marks, because of up and down play. You got to make sure that you're covering your bases, and I do think that they're going to want to add back to that. Are they going to use top 100? I've been thinking no until last week, but I wanted to get that aspect in here to see what some of the options are. Do like Green as well. As we're coming down here to 120 on the mock, we're going to jump back into it and get these done. And first, I'm going to take the speed up because now we're going to start going. Things smooth out and clean up once you get into this area of the draft because they're taking players on their board that might not be on other players' board, or other teams' boards. And this worked out exactly as I thought it might. And that is that Devondre Sweat is still on the board at 120 here as we are. I think that is a distinct possibility in reality. And an investment at 120 is absolutely acceptable for a guy who just had a DUI, who's had weight problems, yet has the upside that could be spectacular next to Chris Jones. So we're going to run up to the podium and take Devondre Sweat at 120. And we do have a little bit more speed here. We come down 10 more spaces, 10 more slices at the apple. Who did we miss in the meantime? Let's double check that. Tyke Smith. Kai Wingo would have been another option, I think, at interior defensive tackle. Taj Washington, Braylon Allen, I do like him more than most. I'm not ready to call him my guy yet. Abrams Drain would have been, had we not gone at 83, I think would have been an option. And Estime, he's a specific flavor. He's a AJ Dillon, although he does not have the athletic scores of AJ Dillon, but he's that kind of mold in my eyes. And so we take a look at who is here, and we're looking at Brennan Rice. I do think there could be 2 bites at the wide receiver apple in this class, and just to take a peek at it, I do want to see who else is there. Another guy that I really do like is there, but I think Rice would probably be their favorite at this point in the wide receiver group. Theo Johnson is very, very interesting at the tight end spot if they're going to do that. If they're not, you look at, I think, Another edge worth considering is Muhammad Kamara. You've heard me talk about him before, so we're not going to go that direction. They could look at a Gabriel Murphy possibly, but he's more of a BJ Thomas in my opinion, and I do think he is not as developed. He's the third option at UCLA, and I think that's pretty clear. I do like Cam Hart as well. Now, we covered the long guy, so I think what it is we stick to our guns and we look to the interior offensive line. Bordelini is a guy that can play at center and give you some relief if you choose to move our guy, Creed Humphrey, out. But you can see who's coming, and I just can't ignore that. One of my guys is likely to be on the board at our next pick. So we're going to take Brendan Rice, and we're going to smile, and we're going to run away. And we're going to see what comes down at 154, our next pick. We are on the clock yet again with Yaheem Bell, Jackson Wentz. I had an eye on him. Cam Hart, I like. Smith Wade. Liufau Went, another guy that I think is a really intriguing type. Don Hoger is here. You've seen me take him before, but it is one Zach Zinter who's popped up 2 days in a row now as I've tried to do these mocks. And he is the next Trey Smith in terms of being the steal. Holker went just before us to the Dolphins. Good pick for them. I'm not super happy about that. Will Shipley I've taken before. You guys have seen me do that. Jalen Coker. I think you just keep throwing bodies at it. You guys know I like Jordan Whittington, but Coker could be really, really interesting here as well. Just want to make sure we're checking everybody out and making sure, especially now that Cody Schrader came in on a visit. We still have 173, so we're going to hold off and see if we can nab him next. We're going to take Coker, and we're going to add that much more firepower to where we're trying to go. And now, because we wanted to target a guy, we're going to put another Tiger on this roster in Cody Schrader and smile all the way doing it. So at this point, we're going to let this guy tick down. And I think what this has shown is that there are a number of ways that this draft can go. That certainly is true every single year. But by using the information that we have in the athletic matrix, in the draft guide, and making sure that we're addressing known issues for the Kansas City Chiefs when we get down, I'm going to try to find Cody's profile here. It would help if I was in the running backs rather than the tight ends, but here we go. There he is. Okay, and you can see from his profile, number 2 in yards per game because he was used very, very well. Touchdowns, touches per TD, very efficient. He was ranked 11 in the class at that point. And Schrader, I do like, you can see here, he's got two things going for him. It's not the power. It's not just the straight explosion. It's his range once he can get out and his change of direction. He's got enough short area quickness inside that I think he can still be an asset to a team. And at this point in the draft, where it lies, I think that that's great value. So really happy that we were able to pull him onto the Chiefs roster in this scenario. Now, if we go back and we look at what we were able to accomplish, this is what it comes down to. We started with Kingsley. PFF didn't like it, and I don't care. We accomplished a couple of trades to get ourselves back in position to get Ricky Pearsall, put him in the slot. And honestly, he isn't a slot-only guy. He can be an X for you as well. There's a number of things you can do with him. And at this point, the drops and the issues in the slot, I think, have to be taken care of. And I do think putting more draft stock to it is the way to go. That said, Kyrie Jackson, we come back with at 83, get that corner, another developmental guy that isn't ready to start year one, but could be the next kind of version of Snead in terms of a lower pick that matures and is able to take over a slot. Really like that one. We come back even further at 120 with Tavondre Sweat, a guy that we know Chris Jones wants, and we know Charles Omenihu wants, and they got that done. Then follow up with an up-and-comer, and obviously the name is part of the thing here, is that maybe a late bloomer. Can Brendan Rice turn into something spectacular? It's still a possibility. Make a small investment in the 4th round and go do that. Then maybe the steal of the draft here at 154 with Zach Zinter, who can man the inside, especially if you can't get to a new contract with Trey Smith. We're going to see how that goes down. Then we come back with Jalen Coker, let him turn him loose and see what happens. And we finish up with Missouri Tiger, Cody Schrader. Let me know what you guys think. Are you happy with this? Would you have done it this way? What are your main qualms? That's what I want to know. What do you think I'm crazy about? Put it in the comments below. I appreciate you spending this time with me tonight. Really excited for the draft. Maybe more excited for this draft than I've been for one in a couple of years, because this one's more difficult. McDuffie was an easy pick. Even George Karlaftis, though they were higher on him than I was initially, it's easy to see that he had fringe first round grade. You go get him. This one's a lot tougher because there's a lot of guys that have a trait that is first round capable, maybe two, but aren't the surefire things. There's a lot of volume in both the tackle group and even way more volume in the wide receiver group, two things that the Chiefs need. So it leaves their options open. And I've tried through this series to give you as many different ways that they could choose to tackle their roster needs through the draft and give us an idea. And yes, positions have changed, but I think we've gone through enough of the permutations that we have an idea of what should be there. Now, the NFL is always a little bit different. That's why the draft guide's there, so that we have reference for maybe what the NFL sees differently than the rest of us all do. Now, this is going to be a heck of a week, culminating in the draft live streams. Be here. Put the TV on, put the computer with us, put your phone, your iPad, whatever. Have us on the stream, and you'll get instant reaction from us as well as the networks. And if you've listened to the networks, you're going to hear the same reaction from the networks, wherever anybody comes. We're going to tell you our take and our perspective for you, the Chiefs fan, and for fans of other teams that choose to hang with us on draft night. If you've been here before, it's a blast. It's a marathon, and it is a lot of fun. So I hope that you guys will join us there. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Q&A. We're going to go over some of my guys. We're going to get ready for that content later in the week. And Dan and I are going to talk about our boards. If I can finish it up, I will release the board tomorrow. If not, it should be Tuesday. You'll have the full draft board of not only who I would take in what order at what position, but what round and where, and the clusters that ensue. There's a lot of wide receivers. I'm just going to warn you. Have a great night. Thanks for spending it with me on your Sunday evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.